Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football. And welcome back to a live stream at a time we don't normally go live, but there's so much news, there's so much drama that I just kind of wanted to dive into it now, get it off my chest while it was kind of really irritating me today. This is the story on Rasmus Hojlund. This is the leaks going on at United. There's reports that 50% of the squad were unhappy with Ten Hag. It's now been revealed that actually there's just two players in the dressing room that are unhappy and are leaking things, and they've been told off by the players, and we're going to get into that. Sort of two leakers have sort of been revealed and they need to be named and shamed. I think it's very obvious that who one of them is, and there's reports and suggestions rumoured who the other one is as well, so we will dive into that. I want to dive into the news on Rasmus Hojlund because poor Rasmus Hojlund has done nothing wrong this season. Poor Rasmus Hojlund is one of probably the 6 players I'd keep at Manchester United, and he's now being attacked by alleged teammates in the media. Now, I do apologise if the quality of this live stream is not as good as my normal live streams. I am filming in an office thing that I'm just renting out at the moment, like a meeting room, and it's got a bit of a fan, so I do apologise if there's a bit of annoying background noise and the lighting's not good and this all of that. Hopefully it should be fine, but the Wi-Fi is normally better here, so hopefully we don't get the internet issue. So I want to dive right into the news. I want to dive into the stories. I want to dive into the reports on the leakers and more. So please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new, share the video and all of that. But I want to have a bit of a rant about Samuel Luckers, his reports that's come out today. And I also think that while Martial and Rashford's body language was particularly disgraceful and particularly bad versus Newcastle, I do think that Samuel Luckers has agendas against non-English players and is trying to shift blame on Martial, which I will get into. But I have to say Martial was a bit of a disgrace the other day. But Samuel Luckhurst started by saying this. Now, Luckhurst and 3 other journalists have been banned. We will dive into that. Man United have taken action against these journalists, banned them. Ten Hag has spoken out. We will dive into that. But Luckhurst has said Erik Ten Hag is losing confidence with Man United players and some staff members as the club's season continues to spiral. He said a dressing room source, and this is probably the 55th time we've had a report about a dressing room source telling Luckhurst something after we lose. But he goes in and he says, a dressing room source said the situation is bad. So while some senior United players have expressed concern at the direction of the club. So that's what was said as well. But this is what wound me up today. I want to talk about this, and then I want to talk about Jack Talbot's story about there being 2 leakers at Manchester United. And what I'm hearing is it will be very obvious to know who the leakers are tomorrow, because there's 2 leakers that's been revealed. There's 2 leakers, they're in trouble with Ten Hag, they're in trouble with the squad. If there's 2 players not involved in the squad tomorrow, I would not be surprised if they were the leakers. I tell you that now. 2 surprise names not in the squad, I would not be surprised. But I will get into who allegedly the leakers are as well in just a second. But I do want to dive into this story here. Alex makes a good point. The media has to take a lot of blame here as well. They've tried to destabilise the club more than ever the last few years. And I was in Saeed's stream earlier, and we were talking about, and I think it was Andy, he spoke up about how there was an interview clip of Ten Hag having an interview by someone, and that they basically said, oh, we like it when you lose, we like it, we get loads of clicks when you're a mess. And Ten Hag responded like, I know, we don't care, la di la. But the media literally admitted that they like it when United lose. This was mainstream media because they know they can pile on the clicks, and we know that the media, they always make the most of Man United losing. They love it when Man United lose because they can pile it on. Like that is what they do. And we will dive into that later, but we know that the media have been basically preying on the downfall for United for a while, because a lot of these journalists, they won't have jobs if Man United were in a good place, because they make all their money off writing negativity. And then I report on this negativity, and the amount of times I said, look, I think things are bad, but I think the media exaggerate it. I've been told from reliable people, I've reported it, and it's public knowledge from reliable people, that there's information that journalists get told 3 months ago, they hold on to, and then when Man United lose, they release that report because then it links in with the loss to make the situation sound worse than it is. But Luckhurst said this, sometimes served Manchester United players are startled by the calibre of Erik Ten Hag signings. One is believed to be particularly perplexed by the addition of Rasmus Hojlund. I think that's just like mad. Like, there's a player at Man United that is perplexed by the addition of Rasmus Hojlund. Rasmus Hojlund is one of the few players at Manchester United that I am like, he is in our future. He's incredible. He's been incredible in the Champions League. He hasn't scored a Premier League goal yet, but he's had no service. He's in a ghost shift. And also he's done a lot of things in games really well when he's not even scored. He's 20. Like, Rasmus Hojlund is 20. I think a lot of people forget, like, This guy is a couple months older than Garnacho. This guy is younger than Saka and Martinelli. This guy is 3 years younger than Phil Foden. Like, people forget that Hojlund is 20. He is a kid, and he gets like a lot of stick, Hojlund, but I think he's the future. I think he's so good. I think he's got every attribute to become an elite player. And I think Rasmus Hojlund is the least of problems at United. So when I'm listening and reading reports that the Man United players think Rasmus Hojlund's a problem and there's a player perplexed by Rasmus Hojlund, it makes my blood boil. I think whoever the hell thinks that needs their head like checked. They are absolutely deluded as well. And it didn't just stop at Hojlund. I think Hojlund was the worst and most surprising just because of the fact that, like, I think Hojlund is one of about 6 players I'd keep at United right now. People said Anthony Weghorst, Hojlund and Mason Mount are among signings who've been questioned by some Man United players, and at Man United, and that wound me up. Like, Weghorst, 100%. I think everyone questioned Weghorst. I questioned Weghorst. Anthony at the time, it wasn't a question of the player, it was a question of the price tag, because Ten Hag wanted Anthony. Mason Mount wasn't a question of the player and his ability, it was a question of, was that a position in need? I don't think we needed a player like Mason Mount. I think we needed someone that was better with retention to help out defensively in midfield. You know, Anthony and Mason Mount, it's not about the player quality, it's about the price tag or were they particularly needed. With Anthony, it has now been about the player quality. Weghorst, I get the questioning, but questioning Hojlund, Mount, Anthony, Weghorst as they come in, as if these Man United players have been any better. Like, that's what I don't get about the questioning. Like, do these Man United players think that they've been any better than the likes of Wout Weghorst? No, Wout Weghorst would probably be better than half the squad right now. That's how bad we are. You know, and it was said that there are concerns among the Man United hierarchy that some players are demotivated. It says problems apparently, according to sources, that players are demotivated, and players are demotivated because they don't see a future in this club because of the signings of Hojlund. They think that we're a bad club if we're signing players like Hojlund, which I just think is a disgrace because Hojlund's one of the main positive things. Now, we'll talk about the media and how the media lie in a second, but it was said that Martial has been identified as one of the prime players who's not invested in helping United succeed, while there are other growing issues over Rashford. Luckhurst has named Anthony Martial and Rashford as players causing issues. Now, Anthony Martial and Rashford, their attitude, their body language, their everything versus Newcastle was awful. But I think it's very obvious that they're this players you can jump on. Things are bad, they've had a bad game, they're players you can jump on. It might be Rashford and Martial that are causing the problems, but I do think this is a time where Luckhurst has just seen that Martial and Rashford were poor versus Newcastle, their work rate was poor, their body language was poor. He could identify them publicly as players causing a problem and everyone would believe him. I don't think that Martial is really causing a problem, to be honest. I think he's not really played, he's not really been involved. I think that he's just such an obvious scapegoat. Maybe Rashford is causing a problem. Maybe Martial is causing a problem. But I do think that maybe they're being targeted as scapegoats, which a lot of people might disagree with me with. But Varane was being targeted as a scapegoat the last couple of weeks because he'd been benched and the media was starting pretending there was a problem between Varane and Ten Hag. I know from someone I've spoke to, we know from Fabrizio Romano, and I know from a credible report today, there is no issue between Varane and Ten Hag. In terms of a personal issue, he's just dropping Varane because tactically he believes that's the right choice. Whether we believe that's the right choice or not, most of us disagree. But I was actually speaking to someone today and they said that, and I retweeted a tweet as well along the same lines, that Varane, Maguire, Bruno and Luke Shaw are the 4 leading characters in the dressing room. Varane, Maguire, Bruno, Luke Shaw, the 4 leading players in the Man United dressing room. But because Varane pulled a face when he came off the bench, the media started reporting that Varane and Ten Hag had fallen out and Varane was causing problems in the dressing room, when I've been told and other reliable sources have been told that Varane is actually one of the few players keeping the dressing room calm. So I sometimes think with the media, with Luckhurst, while Rashford was a disgrace versus Newcastle, while Martial was a disgrace versus Newcastle, and while they might be players causing issues in the dressing room, I do think it's interesting how all of a sudden he's calling out Martial and Rashford the exact day after they have a really crap performance versus Newcastle where everyone else is questioning them because, it gets clicks, it goes with the agenda of the time. I don't think that he has genuine, credible sources, if I'm going to be honest with you as well. I have to apologise if there is background noise in the stream, and I have to get into a few stories as well. Hojlund is the only victim at the club. The club didn't bring in a support/rotation striker like they should have. Yeah, if anything, Hojlund's been hung out to dry by the club. Like, if anyone's a victim, if anyone deserves better, it's Hojlund at this club as well, and all the complaints as well, all the complaints. Man United players turn up for games like grumpy teenagers doing a paper round. They can't be asked with because they'd rather be at home playing PlayStation. Well, that's the case with Sancho. Alice, the Man United said that the virus was Pogba and Sancho, and who's friends with Rashford and Martial, get rid of them, keep the manager. I like Rashford. I'm a big Rashford fan, but he's got to be dropped. And I do worry because Rashford's best friends with Sancho. Could Rashford be one of the players acting out because of the whole Sancho situation, particularly as well? So it does worry me as well. Martial is looking for an excuse to go train with Sancho. Alice, Martial has been poor for years, mediocre, absolute worst. I agree, but I think Martial is that media scapegoat. I think finally now the media's getting a bit more on Rashford, but it's always Martial and it was always Pogba because they were so easy names to blame. And I think that, I don't know if Martial's the leak or not. I don't know if Martial's causing problems or not. But I'm just saying I think it's funny how the media go and attack Martial and they're like, yeah, Martial's done this, Martial's done that right away as well. I'd like to know what Rashford has to be unhappy about. Ten Hag turned his career around and got the massive contract exactly. This is why it makes no sense. If Rashford's acting out, if Rashford's not playing for the manager and he wants him sacked, then Rashford has a serious attitude problem because Ten Hag turned his career around. Ten Hag got him a big new contract. Ten Hag continues to play him even when he's crap, showing him immense amount of favouritism. It generally makes no sense. You're absolutely right as well. There's no background noise. Stream 10 out of 10. Okay, that's good. I feel like I'm talking over it, but there's a slight fan, but it's more of like a white noise as well. Is it a new location? I'm just in my office space today, doing some other work, and then I thought I'd take one of the booths and record. But I want to get into the next story. This is what I want to talk about. The two players. Who are the leakers? So it was said Manchester United scored angry at two players for leaking stories to the media. The majority of squad are frustrated with these negative leaks, which all emanate from just two players, and they feel it's not reflective of the situation at the club. From what we're hearing, all the leaks seem to be coming through and through the same two players. Consistently, leaks coming from the same two players, and that United aren't happy about it. And one of the players is reportedly Jadon Sancho, and the other player is reportedly a player that is feeding Jadon Sancho that's not been named. But I think if we see Matt Rashford or Martial completely dropped from the squad, we'll know it's them. The leaker is not Varane. The leaker is not Bruno. The leaker is not Shaw. The leaker is not Maguire. They're the four players that have been stepping in, having a go at the leakers, having a go at certain players. But there's two players, one of which is obviously Jadon Sancho, because the leak had a whole report about how Jadon Sancho's been training super hard, this and that. There was a report that came out yesterday, and I can't remember who it was, but it had a whole segment about Sancho, how he's been treated badly, how hard he's training, and then they start saying 50% of the squad hates Ten Hag and this and that. It's so obvious that leak came from Sancho. I hate to be one of those people saying, oh, that Sancho is the leaker, but it doesn't take a genius to figure that out, because obviously I've just done a speech saying, look, Martial and Rashford are being targeted because they were awful versus Newcastle, but had Martial and Rashford not been awful versus Newcastle, do you think they'd be accused of being the leaker? I don't know. I think it's people jump on players when they're low and jump on players that are easy to go to and all of that as well. But it was basically said that Sancho is one of the leakers and someone else is feeding Sancho information, and that two players are, have upset the squad. And I think that's interesting because yesterday we've got all these leaks and reports coming out that actually, half the squad is turned on Ten Hag. He's lost half the dressing room are fed up with training, this and that about Ten Hag. And then you get those reports coming out today that actually it's just two players, and the majority of the squad are annoyed at these two players for leaking information as well. I actually do think Rashi is downing tools and complaining based on his performance is just baffled to why. And yeah, someone made a good point to me earlier. And they said, because Rashford all of a sudden got it from Sky Sports. Rashford never used to get it from Sky Sports. Rashford's one of those guys, because he's English, because he's media loved, he never got it from Sky Sports. When Rashford had a bad performance, they just talk about Martial's bad performance or Pogba's bad performance. The mainstream media would kind of let Rashford go, and it would be Pogba, it would be Martial there. But the mainstream media did a whole segment focusing on Rashford's performance. Roy Keane called him out, and Rashford's got all this heat in the media from mainstream media calling out his performance, that maybe there's a possibility there for a little bit of PR to take the heat off him. The attention goes towards Ten Hag as well. Another great stream, Alice. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Really do appreciate it. Hope there's no lag or anything going on in the stream as well. Martial also should have gone long gone to a competent club. Yeah, Martial should have gone ages ago. Martial should have gone ages ago, to be honest. And I've always liked Martial, but with his injury record, he should have been sold 2 seasons ago. Ten Hag wanted him sold, and the thing is, Ten Hag's having to use players like Martial and McTominay that he wanted sold because we couldn't sell them. Even Maguire, and luckily for him, Maguire has been good. But if you look at all the players that Ten Hag wanted sold in the summer and who actually went, it was probably only Fred. When you think of all the players that Ten Hag was like, get them out. It was only Fred. If our so-called wingers give Rasmus an opportunity, he would score 100%. He would score for United 100%. I think, to be honest, a lot of it comes down to the midfield, not just the wingers. Our ability to enter the final third and create comes from our lack of control in midfield. But there's no doubt in my mind, you give Hojlund the chances, he will score. And there's no doubt in my mind that Hojlund's a fantastic player. 20 years of age, his athleticism, his all-round game, his ability to hold up the ball, it's so good. He's a decent finisher. He's quick, he can dribble. He has so many good attributes that just give him the ball and prove the team, he will score, he'll be a quality player, and he's only 20 years of age, which I think a lot of people forget as well. A lot of players should have gone ages ago. What are your thoughts on Man United banning reports from press conference, particularly Samuel Luckhurst, because he's been causing problems for a while? I think that's one of the best decisions that Man United have made in a very, very long time. Jose wanted Mourinho, Martial gone, Oli loaned him, and he's still here. True. True. We're going to dive into the Samuel Luckhurst being banned and the media being banned in a second, but it's interesting. I've always said I think there's problems going on with the club, but I think the media make the problems sound a lot more than they are. I think instead of 50% of the dressing room being a problem, I think there's 1 or 2 players there, and those 2 players need to be named and shamed. 4 journalists got named and shamed by Manchester United today. 4 journalists got named and shamed by United today publicly and said they were not invited to the press conference. 4 journalists got banned from the press conference today. They've also called out 2 players for leaking information. The squad has had a go at 2 players for leaking information. Those 2 players need to rightfully be called out. They need to be called out. And it was basically said today that the Manchester Evening journalist Samuel Luckhurst has been banned from Ten Hag's press conference today. Samuel Luckhurst, who's been spinning this narrative for a long time. It was also said that Sky Sports chief reporter, Sky Kavanagh, the Manchester Evening News reporter Luckhurst, the Mirror's David McDonnell, and Rob Dawson of ESPN have all been blocked from joining the press conference this afternoon. And you know what? Big up Ten Hag, because you know what? These guys have been out to get Ten Hag all season. Every time you lose, these guys are writing up reports that Ten Hag's training is not good enough and Ten Hag did this and Ten Hag did that, adding fuel to the fire, adding negativity to the I Hate Ten Hag campaign. So I am glad that the club finally took the decision to block them, particularly people like Luckhurst who've been causing problems for ages, because we were talking about this on Saeed's show earlier. But the mainstream media, they have this thing that, the fan channels, they cause the problems at United. The fan channels, they cause the negativity at United. It's like, well, no, the fan channels report on the reports that you make up. The mainstream media make reports, and then I speak about the reports and say if it's PR, say if I think it's true, say if I think it's not. The mainstream media, the one that write all these negative reports because they make their money off writing these negative reports about United, and then they'll go hate on the YouTubers and say that they're the toxic ones. When us YouTubers, we're just reporting what they say. I don't make up news. I don't do live streams saying, guys, I've been told that Rashford beat the crap out of Ten Hag, and I don't do any of that. I report the news. I get it up on your screen. I show you where it's come from. And those people like Luckhurst, who've been reporting negative Man United news for years, who I don't believe is a Man United fan, has finally been banned because all he's been doing is putting fuel on the let's shit on Ten Hag campaign. Let's go in on Ten Hag campaign. I've had absolute enough of it. I really, really have. Really, really have. A lot of players should have massively gone ages ago. I agree. Please do smash the like button if you have not already, and of course subscribe down below as well. Rashi is the scapegoat. He's not a right wing. He can't play there. Every manager makes this mistake. He needs to be benched and not forced into a role he can't do. The fans are dumb to notice this. He needs to be benched, all right? He needs to be benched, and then you bring him on as a left winger for the last 20 minutes. You put him on the bench to teach him a lesson. Mainstream media blame the fan channels because the media are old guarding, fading away, less and less relevant. Exactly. And the media make up the news. It's the media that's reporting this about Ten Hag, and Ten Hag's training's this and Hojlund's this. The fan channels don't report anything. The fan channels don't come out with any negative news and cause issues. We just report on what the media say. And half my videos, I say, look, take this with a pinch of salt. Look, I think this is a PR spin. Look, I think this is a negotiation tactic. Look, I think this is an over-exaggeration. The media is what is negative because they thrive off the clicks of negativity around Manchester United. And they always wait until the right time to release a story. The Muppeteers called it out. Rob Dawson, a lot of these journalists had known stuff in July. It had been publicly leaked to all the United briefs, stuff about the intense training in July and Ten Hag's training camp. But Rob Dawson waits 3 months later till we lose 3-0 to City to release that report, because while fans are frustrated at Ten Hag, an anti-Ten Hag report, all of a sudden it gets better interaction. Because if Ten Hag's won 3 games and you release a report that Ten Hag's training was bad and an anti-Ten Hag report, everyone's just going to ignore and laugh at it. If Ten Hag loses 3 games and gets battered by City and you release a Ten Hag report from 3 months ago, but you act like it's not from 3 months ago, it fuels the media, it fuels all of that as well. Please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video. I do want to get into sort of the reports as well. The Man United put out a statement, Statements FC. This must be like our fifth or sixth statement this season, honestly. And it said that the club has taken action against several media organisations for not publishing stories we don't like, but for doing so without contacting us first to give us the opportunity to challenge or contextualise. And what it is, and I will tell you this now, what it is that Rasmus Hojlund story was the final straw. That story that players are turning on Hojlund, that it's being questioned Hojlund's ability, was the final straw, because Ten Hag loves Hojlund. I know Man United are happy with the Hojlund signing and think that he's going to be a great player. I know the fans are happy with Hojlund. Hojlund is one of probably only 5 players that most fans would keep at United past this season right now. That Rasmus Hojlund story from Samuel Luckhurst this morning was the final straw. They've been going in and in on Ten Hag's back. They've been going in on players. It was Sancho this, poor Sancho that. But that Rasmus Hojlund story, that made Man United media go, nah, this is unacceptable. That is what made Man United media lose their mind and say, no, you are not coming in, spreading that story in Hojlund. And they should have done it ages ago, but I'm glad people like Luckhurst has been banned, because they just spread negativity as well. They just spread negativity. Now, Ten Hag obviously had a press conference right after this. And this, do you know what? I haven't even gone into like the iceberg of information that's come out against Ten Hag. There's been like 50 different stories coming out of that anti-Ten Hag, and I've not even dived into the iceberg. You know, there's the Hojlund leaks, his signings leaks, the training leaks, his management leaks. There's been 100 different leaks sort of that have been anti-Ten Hag, and we've barely even covered the ground basis. But Ten Hag has responded to a lot of these leaks because he was asked about it in his press conference. He was asked about his relationship with the players. He was asked about everything in his press conference. So Ten Hag said this: I listen always to my players. I give them opportunities to tell. If they have it, I will listen. But they haven't told me. Maybe 1 or 2, but it's about general. The majority, they want to play like this. They're proactive, brave, dynamic. He's basically said there's 2 players that he knows has got a problem. There's 2 players that have voiced a different opinion. But he said the rest of the team, they're behind me. They want to play. They want to listen. That is what he said. Now, one of those players is Sancho. The other player is not Varane. I don't know who it is. Some reports say it's Rashford. Some reports say it's Martial. I think if one of Rashford and Martial aren't in the squad tomorrow versus Chelsea, we'll know. But Erik ten Hag was then asked if the players are behind him. And he said, oh, yes, I'm sure. You can see, for instance, the comeback against Brentford, the Burnley game, the Fulham game. Every time the team is there, they show great character, great determination, resilience. We are together. So you can't play such great football if we didn't have unity. Now, Ten Hag's got to say that it's got to be positive. I don't think there's much unity. I don't think there's much fight in the side. But I guarantee you, I still think most players are behind Ten Hag. The media have made out that he's lost half the dressing room. Everyone at Man United wants Ten Hag gone. I think he's lost I reckon there's about 3 names in there that are annoyed at him. And those 3 names, unfortunately, are bigger names, have a bigger say. And then the media's just made out it's half the squad instead of 3 names. Erik ten Hag was then asked about the journalist ban, which I think is one of the smartest things Man United have done all season. And Ten Hag said on the journalist ban, they should have come to us first and not go behind our back printing articles. That is not the right thing. We have a good relationship, but they must come to us beforehand and debate about it. They've basically visibly said these journalists are hearing stuff from players at the club and then just printing it. They're not coming to us for our stamp on it. They're not coming to us for context. All they're doing is putting out a story that's come out from Jadon Sancho's camp about everything bad Ten Hag's done, instead of going to Ten Hag, wanting to hear his side of the story and saying, but from Ten Hag's perspective, this happened. And Man United also want the journalists to be on their side, but they're not. If you're a real Man United fan and you're a journalist like Samuel Luckhurst, you write down who's leaking to you, and you go to the club and say, this is the guy leaking to me. He's telling me this and that. You need to get him out. This is the leaker. Instead of actually, no, you're protecting the leakers, you're protecting the people that make the environment at Man United negative, because you know you need their sources so you can write stories and make money off this club and its downfall. If you're a real Man United fan like us, instead of writing your dressing room source report, tell us who's the guy that's been leaking to Luckhurst for the last few years, everything at United, and when things are wrong, always leaking. Who is that guy? Because Luckhurst is not. He's meant to be a United fan, but this guy who's leaking to Luckhurst is the problem. He's a dressing room problem. He's an issue. So if you're a Man United fan, you want this dressing room problem, you want this issue solved, you want him gone. You don't want to do any of that, oh, I'm going to protect him so I can write stories. So yeah, I get United 100% for banning journalists, 100%. Perhaps they deserve the ban, but it's all well and good when clubs leak absolute rubbish and spin via media. 100% as well. Scrolling through the chat as well. How do I know it's not Varane? Because Romano said that the situation with Varane and Ten Hag is fine. It's about passing angles. Ten Hag, Varane's a top professional. 1, Varane has never been kicked out of the squad. He's still been on the bench. 2, I spoke to someone reliable today and said that Varane's not an issue. And 3, another reliable report came out today and said actually Varane, Bruno, Luke Shaw and Maguire are 4 players actually trying to rally the players behind Ten Hag. And considering what's going on with Varane, it says a lot, yeah. Big up everybody in the chat as well. Not unity and not playing well, so it's good football. Yeah, I don't agree with everything Ten Hag said on his press conference about unity and things like that. We are not brave. We're not great. We're not proactive. We're not brave. But yeah, is my mic bad? Do you know what? It's not that my mic's bad. I'm using a different camera and I'm in a room with a fan today, so the audio is probably like 10 times worse than normal. Purely just because of the fact that the room I'm in, the fan, the noise, a different mic as well. What's my prediction? It's so hard to predict Man United at the moment because if Man United show up, we can beat Chelsea 2-3-1. If we don't show up, we could lose 3-0. I don't know if we're going to show up or not. The thing is, other clubs, they don't have this problem. They know that their team's going to show up. I don't know if my team's going to show up. And that isn't even just show up. It's like actually give a crap, put some effort in, work hard. I don't know if that's what United are going to do. So it's so hard to do predictions as well. Your mic sounds fine now. It's just a bit of white noise, but you can easily hear. Yeah, I do apologise. It's the fan in the office, so there's always a little bit of white noise here. But let's dive into the next story. What else has Erik Ten Hag said on the leaks? Erik Ten Hag said, of course, there are always in every team players who are not playing or playing less and are less happy because they're not playing. That's normal. In some circumstances, you need that. They have to wait for their chance, and that can come. But there's no issue. Ten Hag said, look, whatever club you're at, you're always going to get players that aren't playing and aren't happy that they're not playing. That's just the case. And I think there's players at United that aren't happy they're not playing, but I think they're the type of, I think a lot of them will just get on with it and not leak. But I think there's 1 or 2 that, like Sancho, obviously he wasn't playing, that do leak, put out statements against the manager, which causes the problem. Ten Hag said on all the leaks and stuff, of course, there's a lot of rumours, but it's not that we get distracted by it. We are on a journey, a route. We know we are in transition, but you are right. But we are in the right direction. We construct a team, develop it. The team is progressing, young players coming, and you can see the potential, how they can contribute successfully to the team's future. Ten Hag is basically saying, look, we are not letting ourselves get distracted by these leaks, these stories, which is good. Ten Hag was interviewed the other week, and the interviewer said, oh, we like it when you're losing and stuff. And Ten Hag said, I know, I don't care. Ten Hag saying, we're focusing on us, we're focusing on our future. We've got some great young players. And I think that's the real best response that Ten Hag could have had. He then spoke more about the game and the Galatasaray game, and he said, we are not robots. If we play 3 games in 6 days, tough games, and by the end, fatigue's an issue. Fatigue can be an issue, although it's never an excuse. But he said against Galatasaray and Everton, we were good. Against Newcastle, we were not happy with our performance. We are the first to say the players are self-critical. He said, look, a lot of the players versus Newcastle were self-critical of the performance, which is good. But the interesting thing was he was asked about Marcus Rashford, and I think Ten Hag did his best to try and sway and avoid these questions on Marcus Rashford. But Ten Hag said on Rashford, everyone is disappointed. We saw Galatasaray, the performance and the result in Newcastle. We're not the only team to lose there. They win all the games except for Liverpool, but we want to win there, and we did everything in our power, but definitely our performance wasn't good enough. He completely avoided the question about Rashford's work rate and started speaking about something else, which I think is interesting from Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag's very, very reluctant to get into news and stories on Rashford and sort of what's going on there as well. No other club leak like United. As Matic said, no other club has players that are consistently late. No other club leaks like United. Unfortunately, we elite Chester FC as well. Just a total lack of authority. Go ask superstars of our past what happened when they questioned tactics under Sir Alex Ferguson and transfers exactly. These players have been given too much power. These players have been given too much player power to get rid of whatever they want because they know a new manager comes in every 2 years and that they've got their big contracts, and we need to stop it. We need to stop this player power stuff. Alice, you look beautiful. It's really painful seeing the players play to our lost, and I love your passion for this club. Big up everybody in the chat. Do subscribe if you're new, and of course hit that like button. I do go live every single evening on the channel as well. Alice, would I take Ancelotti? I mean, look, he's a good manager, but I just want things to work out under Ten Hag. I really do. I'm just not interested in talking about another manager this, another manager that. I'm just thinking, okay, hopefully things will work under Ten Hag. Hopefully things will get good under Ten Hag as well. That's what I want to know as well. Eric Ten Hag has hit. Samuel Luckhurst has hit back at Eric Ten Hag. He said, I pointed out Manchester United's dressing room issues and was banned. Samuel Luckhurst is expressing frustration towards being banned from the United dressing room, from the United press conference. Lol. Samuel Luckhurst and his agendas. I honestly could not care that he's banned. It's probably the only good decision United have bloody made this season as well. Donny van der Beek has offered himself to Barcelona. Donny, just go to a club that's actually going to play you. That you need to play. I don't know why he's offered himself to Barcelona, but he is. Hello from Malaysia. Hello. Big up people. Where are you watching? And what's my starting lineup for tomorrow? My starting lineup for tomorrow would be this. It would be Varane, it would be Maguire, it would be Shaw, it would be Wan-Bissaka, it would be Onana. That is the back five. It would be Amrabat, it would be Maino, it would be Bruno, it would be Pellistri, it would be Garnacho, it would be Hojlund. That is my starting 11 ahead of the Chelsea game. I have to say I am nervous about the Chelsea game because they got a good win versus Brighton. Chelsea have actually given Arsenal a game and given Man City a game, whereas we've been walked through by Arsenal and Man City as well. And if you look at sort of the situation, Chelsea actually play decent football, but they underperform a lot of their stats. Whereas we play we play shit football, but overperform a lot of our stats. So I generally think they could beat us, Chelsea. To be honest, they could. It was said that United have been offered the chance to sign Donny Marlon if Jadon Sancho goes. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I'm not particularly bothered. I don't really know what United's plan is and what they want to do. I'm just so uninterested about talking about the January window. Just because I just think, I feel like nothing's going to happen, so I just can't be bothered as well. It is crazy. It is crazy how many leaks and stuff has come out recently. I wanted to show you something quickly here as well. No joke, it's peak out. There it is. Marlon's got a good goal against us in pre-season. He did. I mean, look, I think Martial could go in January. I think potentially Varane could go in January, unfortunately, and I think Sancho will go in January. But I want to get into a tweet that I wrote earlier today and then the tweet that I wrote yesterday because I had a little bit of a rant here. But I said this: Man United player leaks in the last 2 years. Players don't understand why we signed Hojlund. Players question what Mount, Anthony, Wout, Weghorst add to the team. Players believe Rangnick does not have enough elite coaching experience to be Man United manager and give them instructions. Players annoyed at how Sancho was treated despite his constant bad attitude and being late and undermining the manager. Players said McKenna should be demoted to academy coaching. Players complained Ollie was not disciplined enough. Players complained Ten Hag is too strict and demanding. Leaks come out accusing club of favouring British players. Players wanted Ronaldo gone because he would criticise their work rate. Players complained about having to drive home in the dark after training and being training too long. Group of players went to Ollie and Rangnick to get Maguire dropped and stripped to captaincy. Players like Luke Shaw have had to come out publicly to back the manager and admitted that some of his teammates weren't 100% committed. This is just the tip of the iceberg for stories, rumours and leaks surrounding United in the last 2 years. No doubt in my mind a lot of this is media driven for clicks by those who thrive off Man United negativity, but hope the club keeps certain journalists blacklisted. However, those 2 players who are constantly leaking information need to go. 2 players have been two players have been revealed for leaking information. Those 2 players need to be named and shamed. One report is claiming that it's Rashford and Martial, but another report is saying that it's Sancho and someone else. Nothing to do with Varane is what the reports are saying. But those 2 players that are leaking stuff should be named and shamed with the journalists. The club has named and shamed the 4 journalists they've banned. Name and shame the 2 players. Apparently, other players in Man United training were having a go at these 2 players for leaking things. Man United players were going in on these 2 players for leaking things. So, you know what? Name and shame these players. All I've ever seen is Luckhurst to be true blue. He's the Graham Souness of the Mancunian press. don't know what that means, but does that mean that he's a Man City fan? I don't actually get what you mean by that as well. Does the English press hate Man United? The English press generate money through clicks, and negative stories about Man United gets clicks, so they prey on United's downfall as well. Yeah, 100%. De Gea could be going to Newcastle. Yeah, there are reports of De Gea going to Newcastle. There are reports of a few things, but I think all in all, the media is toxic at United. We need to sort out the media. There's players that are toxic at United, and then once we've cleaned out the toxicity at the top of the club, once we've cleaned out the toxicity within the media, once we clean out toxicity within the players, then we can address actually what's going on. Now, I want to get into Henry Winter's report, because I think Martial is becoming the new scapegoat, in all honesty. He's just kind of wrote a report kind of going in, and he said the owners and players like Martial are the problem at United, not Ten Hag. He may appear to lack warmth, and certain decisions are odd, but he's working hard to try and instill the right culture after 10 years of GF Savas, and the Glazers set the tone. Just think to yourself. And what he's saying is essentially the Glazers and a few players at United set this negative tone. Ten Hag is working hard to change the culture, and I generally believe Ten Hag is working hard to change the culture, but because some of the players setting the tone, he's not allowed to sell. It's particularly hard. Now, he is naming Martial as one of those players. Martial and Rashford have been named as the two players causing problems. Sancho has been named as one of the leakers. I think that, you know what, Martial needs to go. Martial needs to leave United. Martial was not good enough for Manchester United. 100% think that. 100% agree to that. But part of me thinks that Martial is becoming the new scapegoat just because of his performance versus Newcastle. Ten Hag shouts him versus Newcastle, his body language bad versus Newcastle. So easy to write a report that Ten Hag's fallen out of Martial. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't like the blame game, but at the same time, if I had to name 5 players that I think were causing a problem, I'd probably put Martial 5th. But he's not played, he's barely been involved, and we've been crap when Martial's barely been involved. So it just makes me think, well, it was really negative when he was on loan at Sevilla, so he can't be the sole problem. But Martial has been named as a player, and we have a lot. Whoa! What is the camera doing? We are blurry. We are really blurry, aren't we? We are. Does this camera want to focus? No, just doesn't want to focus there. I don't know what's going on with the camera. Varane is injury prone. Yeah, he's not. He's a good attitude, Varane, but he is injury prone as well. Rashford out of the England squad. Anthony Gordon in. I mean, to be honest, at this rate, yeah, the camera's just gone. The camera's drunk. The camera's okay. Slowly. Don't lose focus. It's losing focus. I don't know what's happened to the camera there. I don't know what happened to the camera. Alice, Martial is leaking stuff. Why would the media criticise him? I don't know. I'm saying I don't know if Martial's the leaker, but I'm saying it's such an obvious name to blame. But at the end of the day, if he is the leaker, get him out. But I think he's such an obvious name to blame for United, because it's always, let's blame Martial, let's blame Pogba. I think there's people who are bigger in that club, particularly English players that are leakers, that are a big problem. And I think those 2 players that had a big fallout with the squad today, reportedly, those 2 players that have been found to be leaking information to these 4 journalists, I think that those 2 players, they need to be named. They need to be shamed. They need to be called out 100% as well. Guys, please do hit that like button, and of course subscribe down below if you're new to Alice Talks Football. Alice has to get a train in a second, so she will not be able to go live for much longer. So I'm going to wrap up the live stream in a minute as well. But every time I go on Twitter, it seems that Samuel Luckhurst has gone on a bit of a blocking spree, and I'm surprised I've not been blocked yet for calling him out as well. But look, the media are feasting on Man United negativity. Man United are clapping back on it. That needs to happen. But the reports slating Hojlund, those teammates, those leakers, they need to go. The only ones that can name them is the teammates and the journalists, but they won't do it. And I would do it, because if once you name them, players realise that when they leak information, they might actually be called out for it, and maybe they won't leak information as much. Maybe they won't. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. See you next time. Bye.